Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You see, this right here is exactly why I'm skeptical every time, especially when the individual happens to be, let's call them an enemy of the deep state or an enemy of the establishment. It's just hard to buy into the accusation, it's hard to buy into the initial narrative being spun, because based on our experience, almost every single time, the allegations tend to be totally fraudulent. Of course, we're talking about public figures and very convenient SA allegations targeting them. Russell Brand being the latest, let's say, individuals involved. We're gonna have to wait for more information on that topic specifically, but the initial video that I made was just describing my initial skepticism. Like, why is it every single time allegations like this seem to target individuals that the mainstream media hates? Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Russell Brand, but that's not the case we're talking about today. The case we're talking about today involves former MLB star pitcher Trevor Bauer. I'm a great fan of his, by the way. I've been following him on YouTube for a while now. This guy happens to be an avid vocal Trump supporter, and all of a sudden, as he started to make headlines, thanks to his controversial takes, opinions, and personality, the moment he became public enemy number one in the world of sports, he was targeted with an allegation from a woman that he had dated. What a surprise! Fast forward 2 years later, and he has been completely exonerated. It's yet again another example, yet again another case. Let me update you guys on all the facts. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so really quick background story. Cleveland Indians pitcher Trevor Bauer tweeted frustration over anti-Trump media coverage, then went savage on anybody who replied. This is back in 2017. Trevor Bauer tweeted, really annoyed that Apple and Twitter continue to flood my phone with liberal slanted anti-Trump articles. Fair and equal reporting? No. That's just very quick context that essentially he was a vocal Trump supporter, caused a bunch of chaos online because, oh, how dare he? There's a whole history to it. Fast forward not too long later, he gets hit with an accusation, loses his position as a pitcher in the MLB, then signs to play in Japan, moves his entire life to Japan. Essentially, his entire life was in shambles. In a way, the mob came for him. It's hard to say whether the SA allegation had anything to do with him being dropped by the MLB or whatever it was. Either way, he was a controversial individual even before the fact. Then all the crazy stuff happens, and now this.
Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. A text Lindsey Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me. What should I steal? She asked another, in reference to visiting my house for the first time. The answer? Take his money. So how might that work? I'm going to his house Wednesday, she said. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is 51 mil, she said. Better secure the bag, was the response. But how is she going to do that? Need daddy to choke me out, she said. Being an absolute try to get in on his 51 million, read another text. Then, after the second time we met, former Padres pitcher Jacob Nix told her, you got to get this bag. I'll give you 50,000, Lindsay replied. Her AA sponsor asked her at one point, do you feel a tiny bit guilty? Not really, she replied. Since then, her legal team has approached me multiple times about coming to a financial settlement. But, as I have done since day one, I refuse to pay her even a single cent. In August of 2021, Lindsey Hill's claims were heard in court, and during those legal proceedings, critical information was deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team. Information like this video, which was taken by Lindsey Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me. And now we have the metadata, so there can be no dispute. It was taken mere minutes before she left my house on the morning of May 16th, 2021, without my knowledge or consent, of course. In it, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. I think it paints a pretty clear picture of what actually happened the evening of May 15th and why the video was originally concealed from us. After hearing the evidence available to her, Judge Diana Gold-Saltman found that Lindsey Hill had misled the court. She found her claims to be materially misleading. She denied her request for a domestic violence restraining order, and she found that no sexual assault or non-consensual conduct took place. Now, some of you might not know about restraining order hearings. I know I didn't, but I've since learned that it's extremely rare for a request for a restraining order to be denied because the standard of proof that you need to obtain one is extremely low. So you can make of that what you will. The fact is, I was never arrested. I was never charged with a crime, and I won the only legal proceeding that took place without my side of the story even being heard. And most importantly, as I've said from day one, I never to Lindsay Hill, or anyone else for that matter. So I sued her, which prompted her to countersue me. Quite frankly, regardless of the outcome in court, I've paid significantly more in legal fees than Lindsay Hill could ever pay me in her entire life. And I knew that would be the case going in. But the lawsuit was never about the money for me. It was the only way for me to obtain critical information to clear my name. The discovery process in that lawsuit recently concluded, at which point Lindsay Hill's legal team again came to us with another proposal to resolve the case. This time, however, they weren't seeking any money from me. Having received much of the information that had been hidden from us, a small portion of which I've referenced here, I was willing to agree to the terms proposed. Both parties would drop their respective lawsuits, and neither of us would pay either side any money. I also retained my right to speak publicly about the case, something I have not been at liberty to do since June of 2021. So, as of today, both lawsuits have been settled. Now, over the last 2 years, I've been forced to defend my integrity and my reputation in a very public setting, but hopefully this is the last time I have to do so, as I'd prefer to just remain focused on doing my job, winning baseball games and entertaining fans around the world. So today, I'm happy to be moving on with my life.
Well, would you look at that? This man was demonized by the media for years. Almost like an obsession, the way certain journalists were writing about him. Like he was the worst thing to ever happen. It was bad enough that he was a Trump supporter. Then it turned out that he was abusive with his ex-partner. And then it turned out that it was all one big lie. Actually, he was being scammed the entire time. He was being blackmailed. And once again, we have more evidence, or yet again another example, as to why women should not just be blindly believed. Hashtag believe all women. Because it seems like so many of these cases, especially the high profile ones, tend to be false accusations with a clear intent of ruining this person's life. You know, this woman had one interest and one interest alone, and that was her eyes on the 51 million. All it took was discovery and subpoenas to tap into the phone records, and all of the claims that this young girl made were systematically proven to be false. This is why leftist ideology is so warped and twisted, specifically identity politics. Because rather than looking at individuals or rather than looking at individual cases, all they look at are racial dynamics or gender dynamics, identity dynamics. And that's how they make their decisions. Trevor Bauer can't possibly be the victim here because he's a rich, white, powerful male, therefore he must be guilty. And that is essentially the assumption that the entire mainstream media apparatus in this case ran with. They just cancel you before the facts come in, because narratives apparently are more important than the actual facts of the case. Narratives are more important than the truth. I mean, no wonder it's becoming increasingly more and more hard to give the benefit of the doubt in these situations, especially when the individual being accused is a Trump supporter or an enemy of the mainstream media establishment. It's the same thing every single time. I don't know if there's much more that needs to be said in this instance. Probably not. I've said it all before. And really, the information provided by Trevor Bauer pretty much puts it all into context, gives you the whole story, I guess you could say. It's yet again another example, and I'm sure a lot of you baseball fans out there probably appreciated this video, so that's pretty much what I got. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know, we'd love to have you as a part of the community. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.